Good morning. So we're going to just dive straight in. McSkimming. Now, one of the things, my thing that I keep going on about that nobody else seems to want to talk about, and I think it's just absolutely like, what the fuck? McSkimming has a company called Exotic Car Tours, and when you look it up in the company office files, you'll see that it has no website, no telephone number, not even an email. And this is a company which is like literally a fleet of luxury cars. In fact, how many luxury cars, no one's really talking about. But I'd really like to know, because it reminds me of the Michael Swan case. Michael Swan was a guy doing work for the DHB, who, by the way, recently just got another guy just ripped them off for about $2 million. But this Michael Swan was doing work for the DHB, and he was driving to work every day in a fleet of luxury cars and telling people, oh, it's an inheritance. And some people bought it, some people didn't. Some people wrote a letter to the DHB. It sat in a drawer for a very long time, and then Swan went down for about one point. Well, he went down for about $19 million. There is reason to believe that might have been much larger because he had other contracts, but the news only ever concentrated on his DHB fraud. And again, very much like the McSkimming case, like there was so much that we didn't get to actually hear about it. But in the McSkimming case, just a bit like to be fair about this whole situation, but I think it's a very important point. And it's like, how does a police officer have this kind of excessive displays of wealth on top of a $2.5 million mansion? He's got at least, I think, 2, if not 3 rental properties. He has demonstrated that he's got all these very expensive luxury hobbies, racing cars, hang gliding, and I think there's also a lot of overseas travel in there as well. Now, okay, let's break it down. He's on $450,000 a year, give or take. I'm assuming that his rentals are probably bringing him in about $1,500. So that's another. Let's be generous and say he's the good quality houses. So that's another $100,000. So he's on $550,000 a year. As I can best understand it, he's been in that position from management for about 8 years. So that's basically $4 million right there. So you think, oh, okay, fair enough. He's got to he's worked hard. He can enjoy the fruits of his. Yeah, but $4 million doesn't quite actually add up, because you've also got other expenses, and you've got mortgages and rates, and you've got kids, and you've got family. So that starts to seem like an excessive amount of wealth. And again, we haven't been told actually how much this car fleet actually, how many of these cars he's got. And I'd like to see, some indications that this business was actually legitimate, because a website, I mean, I said the company office says no website, no telephone number, no email. How exactly do you get clientele basis if you're not advertising? How come when I look online, there is no mention of this McSkimming exotic car tour company? It should be, and there's just nothing adding up there. And I think because he's also, by the way, directors of a kind of like a police pension fund, and when I've started looking into that's starting to be quite interesting. And there's a couple of other cases there which I think, if I was a police officer, I mean, for starters, if I was a police officer and this guy was on a company involved with handling our pension plan, I would be a little bit nervous about that, actually, to be quite. I mean, I'm not saying he has done anything wrong, but he's demonstrated that he doesn't have a lot of character or ethics to begin with. So that's my main thing. Why is nobody talking about this exotic? Because, it's perfectly normal for police officers to have 10 or so Lamborghinis and tucked away in the land. Oh, that's perfectly normal. That's actually, when I was in the New Zealand Army Reserves, I was in there for about 6 years, and I did a year where I was on attachment to counterintelligence, which is where we go through and we're spy hunters. And what we look for is different particular red flags. And one of the things we look for is people extrude excessive amounts of respectability. And then we look at them to see if there's anything that doesn't match up with what they're projecting exterior-wise. This is the case McSkimming. He is a counterintelligence red flag. And what I also said, and I think I put it in videos possibly beforehand or mentioned, is how if we were going to look at all the top cops in New Zealand. In fact, if we were going to look at all the top managers in New Zealand and look at, put it in an app, put in all amounts of money, work out what the costings are, basically kind of get an idea about actually how much wealth they should be accruing, and then go and turn around and fly drones of their houses or photographs, whatever. would we find that this is actually across the board, that we have this really alarming situation of people at the top earning way more than they should actually be having? And again, I guess, I'm tempted to talk very briefly about Jacinda Ardern and her $25 million that the Gates Foundation gave her. Now, that's best quantified. I imagine they gave it to her as some kind of charity or some trust. I don't know the full details. But again, why wasn't that sort of thing made more of a deal at the time? And I mean, where is the transparency in all of this process? And that's what worries me about New Zealand. Like, we talk about, we want to bring back and have organised crime, and they've brought in all these experts. The experts are doing what they're doing. They're looking at things at the ground level, regulatory, but they're not actually looking at creating a body that actually examines the top. And that's where organised crime begins. It begins at the top down, not the other way around. So it's we're kind of doomed to fail. But again, McSkimming and his cars. Anybody out there that knows got any pictures on it, got any data on it, let me know and tell other people about this, because I'm just really flabbergasted that it's been mentioned very briefly and then that's it. Nobody wants to talk about that story anymore. And to me, it's, again, we'll go back to this thing about the IT again. What no one's really actually talked about at the time is that how come it took so long to be flagged, and how many other people are out there that are in a similar situation. Now, I know in the case of the Dunedin City Council, and I know because I ran my own little counterintelligence program on them, that they actually, you could go online and you can use their free Wi-Fi and material, and they're using it to actually collect a lot of data. And the people that run what I'm going to do is reverse engineer the situation back. What happened was, I was speaking to a private investigator who, at this stage, name I won't mention, but he will be on my show future. And he is talking about he's investigating a ring of IT people who operate throughout New Zealand in councils, in government agencies, very well placed, who are into very nasty things. But these guys, it's not just that they're into nasty things, is that they are providing a level of blanket of protection to people underneath them and around them. And again, we should really be looking very, very closely at the IT sector and the very people at the top of it, and seeing how many Michael Swans that we can find out, and basically find that, at the end of the day, what happens is, again, counterintelligence, is that so many of these people, they're making this much money. There's only so many places they can actually spend it. They can spend it on property, they can spend it on luxury cars, they can spend it at the casinos, they can spend it at fancy restaurants. All these places basically provide a hunting ground where if you focus on these particular sectors and focus on those particular areas and then do a cross-reference on it, which is, kind of like, again, what we would do in counterintelligence. We'd put this into, like, data. We might have, say, somebody, a red car was seen driving away. We put it into a data file, and then all the people that were of interest that we knew in our list that actually had red cars would actually pop up, and then we'd be listed with a smaller pool of people, and then we'd go around and we'd send investigators to actually, dig a bit deeper onto those people. That's how that's how you do it. It's not actually that hard to do. The problem is no one's actually doing it. And this stuff, actually, again, when you look at a situation, okay, some people are into nasty porn, there's only very few places you can actually get this area. And when you kind of track it back, you're going to be linking into some of the deeper, darker areas of organised crime, and probably the areas that you kind of like, you get all of them. So it's kind of really important. If you want to stop organised crime, this area, this whole, what he was into, where is the source material of it come from? We have heard reports of nasty videos during the investigation of what happened to Kerry Blair, who's a sailor who was working for a guy called Alistair Castle, a friend of Michael Swan's up in the Sounds. And, Kerry's son, Dylan, has mentioned these nasty videos that that his father had found on the boat that didn't belong to him, but they had been on the boat and they were concerning him. And at the time, not saying that he was concerned that these belonged to Swan, because we don't know that, but we do know that he was bugged that Swan was using his computer. We know that at the end of it, when he went missing, The computer was looked at briefly by the police. They gave it to the girlfriend, not the family. And I think it eventually did get back to the family, but in the meantime, it's had lots of time to be swept and played around with. But we do know there was a reference to these nasty videos there. We know back in Dunedin, there is a particular individual going through the courts right now that says that amongst his guns and other things, he had drugs. He also had these nasty videos. And again, we've heard these stories again about back in the day when Wayne Idol was talking Investigate magazine, and he'd mentioned it previously in my book, and I think he might have mentioned Joe Curran's book as well about these supposed videos being made down in Dunedin of young girls and dogs and Alsatians and whatnot. But the point is again, Michael Laws mentions it in QR in relation to the Peter Bain case, where Peter Bain case was Rob Davidson, who went on to be Lan Dizell's partner, was the original suspect, but then he was exonerated and they went after Peter Ellis and all these witnesses who were getting massive ACC payouts and sleeping with the dodgy detectives who went on, and later on the dodgy detectives affiliated to the case, went on to run the Sign of the Takaki Club, which there'd been lots of stories about the Sign of the Takaki Club for years, and they were running it, and then that got shut down because at the same time that actually the dodgy policeman's partner was turned out to be running a security firm run by the headhunters that were all into guns and drugs and all sorts of other things. That back with Wayne Wyler, of course, was that the Howard Broad in that case admitted that these videos had occurred. They'd said that they were being played in his house. Nobody got prosecuted for it. Okay, and yet now we're making a big deal about it, and it's kind of strange that that's now an issue now, but it wasn't back then. It's still illegal, and we're just going, oh yeah, but never mind, boys will be boys. Just in the gist to shut it down is that, again, all these 5 cases talked about, which we're told time and time again, oh no, that doesn't go on New Zealand. Well, obviously it does, and again, very specialist people involved in this, not that huge amount, so follow the money, follow those particular strains, you're going to find yourself a real can of worms. But of course, I don't expect anyone to be talking about McSkimming and his cars and saying, well, where does all this wealth come from? But finally, of course, the thing was, let's say, the thing that kind of gets me again is about why this wealth is important is, let's say, even if it's all legitimate, it just beggars the brains that we're paying people to be these senior positions, to be 6-figure salaries, to be the senior, and then on the side I'm going to be running a business. Shouldn't be happening, period. I mean, that's the whole point. You can say, oh, the reason I've got this money because I've got the side business of renting out exotic cars. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Well, that allows you to hide it, allows you to launder it. And that's, if we're trying to stop organised crime, we should be saying, actually, we pay our top people very, very well to do one job and only one job more. Not have side hustles, not do many moonlighting, but instead we're okay with it because this has become normalised. And that's where the problem actually is. Until we actually address this issue and we address it from the top down, nothing's going to change. Anyway, that's my video for this morning. Better get on with the day. But as I said, seems to me like he's got a lot of cars, a lot of houses, a lot of really, really expensive hobbies. And I can't quite work out how that could be and why we're not having this discussion about this, whether it's just even learn from the discussion from, is it okay for cops, top management, to be having side hustles? Because I would have thought, that they don't have time to do that. That's crazy me.